Hey everybody, this is Jen from Garden Jen's Journey. We're going to be doing an August update. This is what my garden looks like so far. We're starting out with the chickens, because that's where I go to get into my garden. So these are my chickens. They've gotten quite large. Beautiful guys. Then my Peking ducks back there. Alright, and the reason why we start out this right here is I have squash planted right here on the chicken run. I have butternut over here, and then I have over here cucumbers, and I also have a corn that was planted by wildlife. The way that I got the corn to grow up the chicken run without the girls eating it is I actually have mesh fencing down where they are, so it's protecting the plant, and then up further they can't reach it. So we try to use whatever space we have, and since this is a trellis by nature, we have our squash growing up it. Over here is my glass gem corn. Beautiful looking corn. People were worried because the way I had planted it, it's kind of just bunched right there. These were winter sown, and people were worried about nutrient deficiencies because corn is a heavy feeder. They were worried about pests, about mold and mildew because of no circulation. But actually these guys are doing very well. There's no sign of disease. The pests are minimal, so it's doing very well despite people's concerns. So that's my glass gem corn. All right. This is what my garden's looking like right now. This is second week of August. These are my roses, and I have to treat them this morning while it's still cool because they got hit with blight, and I just can't seem to get rid of it right now. So I keep pruning, keep treating it. The weather's been really wacky, so that does not help with diseases on your plants. And then my potato bed. That's my medicinal herb garden. You can see it's really filled in. It's not as bare as it was a month or so ago. My bee balm plant here, I don't know if you can tell. See here, it's got powdery mildew on it, which is just weird. I've never seen it on this type of plant before. But I've been treating this plant with copper, I think it's copper sulfate or something like that. It's an organic spray. I'm trying to get that knocked down. Then in my kale and my tomatoes, I will show you over here. These are the rare Black Beauty tomatoes from Baker's Creek. And that's what they're looking like so far. And then some dry beans. These are Jacob's cattle beans from Baker's Creek. And then I have some broccoli. You can see I actually have a small head going on there. We just harvested a larger head about 2 weeks ago. And more potatoes. They're doing really well. My kale. I'm just amazed at how big lemon balm plants get. Aren't they gorgeous? More kale. And then I have acorn squash starting to go up this side here. Tomatoes. These things got really, really big in just a month. So I'm really impressed. These guys are doing really well. These, I think, were actually last year's seeds that dropped right here when I had my sunflowers planted here. You see they're doing well. We got one over there. See my cows. They're actually not mine. They're my landlord's. When they're over here, they butt right up against the garden. So we have to take precautions so they don't eat my garden. But they're only over here a couple months out of the year as they rotate grazing land. And this is rutabagas, turnips, Brussels sprouts, onions. I've even got some beans in there, and you can actually see I do have some beans now. See, I take you down here. These are wax beans. These are from Baker's Creek. Almost all my seeds that I got veggie-wise are from Baker's Creek. Some of my herb seeds I got from Pine Tree because Baker's Creek didn't have the specific varieties I was looking for. Snapdragons, and then my cabbages. Big guy back there is white boar squash, and then this is pie pumpkin. You see I have a pumpkin growing, yay. These are pole beans, and you can see I've got quite a few. Right here, they're beautiful. And of course my Japanese beetles think so too. But I've been spraying these guys with neem oil. There is one right there, I don't know if you can see it. But they're actually quite minimal. I only have 1 or 2, praise the Lord. He's been watching over my garden. This is where I had a bunch of carrots, and this is Florence fennel right here. Isn't she gorgeous? And then this is rutabaga here, and then I have beets over here. And this is getting into my herb bed over here, but I had a bunch of vegetables. There's even, you can see it tucked in there, this is really dense. There's celery. Alright. And then my trellis broke, so I actually have to restring it because I have more peas ready to go in to replace these ones that are dying off. But this is my pea and bean pole trellis system. And then planted in the shade of the trellises are my basils. Now, just a month ago, these guys were about that small. Basils can be very finicky, hard to grow. So I wasn't sure if when I planted them in the ground they would take off, but as you can see I have a forest full of basil here. So I just thank the Lord for that. More peas. And that's my strawberry bed back there. I gotta thin it out a little bit. My rhubarb. More tomatoes. These really grew up quite big and lush. And then I planted peppers throughout the garden. I have a lot in here. Peppers are very hard to grow in my area. They just don't do well for whatever reason. I haven't figured it out yet. So these here are hybrids. These are the sweet banana peppers, which are the ones that I care for, as well as colored bell peppers, which I don't have any right now. And then I have some habaneros from my friend, but judging by the size, I probably won't get anything this year from them. Then I have squash here. This here was an error that I had made. I wasn't thinking clearly when I planted it. As I told you, I have cows that come over a couple times a year in this pasture. And well, cows love corn, and like a dimwit, I planted a corn patch right here next to the fence. You can see the fence here. And well, the cows took advantage of it, and can't blame them. That's nature. They love corn. But I've left it here just in case, because as you can see, it's still green, and I actually have ears on it and tassels on it still. So I'm crossing my fingers, so to speak, that I'll actually get a couple of ears, just a couple of ears of the corn. This is a blue corn that's supposed to grow like 8 feet tall or something like that when it's really going good. And this was a Three Sisters garden that I had planted here. It was the corn with the beans and the squash, just to give it a go. But again, I made the mistake of planting corn right next to where cows can get a hold of it. So that was my lesson this year. And my zucchini. And my lemongrass is really taken off. Lemongrass is another finicky herb. Sometimes you can get it grow, sometimes you can't, and it just depends. And right there is a white boar squash. I'm going to have to train it because it's going down instead of up. Alright, and then I'll take you out here. I expand my garden as much as possible without taking too much from our yard. But this area, if you can recall, a couple videos ago was a junk pile. It was a massive junk pile that was here before we moved in. And you know, we just took our time and got it cleaned out properly. And then because the soil is not very good to do anything root wise or whatever, because there's junk buried in here. This is a very old property, farmland. We just covered it up with mulch, and then we have elderberries planted here that'll grow out as a bush, and they'll fill this in. So we won't have to worry about getting hurt from whatever's in the ground below, because it's all going to be covered by these bushes here. And then the fruit from the bushes, of course, is on top. It's the berries. So I was thankful that we were able to do that with this part, make it something that can be usable space. And then we also have over here, I have squash growing that will cover this area as well. Another vegetable that grows up on top of things. So I'm not worried about what's underneath as far as you know, nails or or other metal or whatever that's down in the ground, because these grow above ground. And then we have more squash here. Again, we take advantage of any space we can when growing vegetables like vining squash that takes a lot of space to grow. These will grow here and they'll actually grow up my chicken coop, just like out on the other chicken coop. I have 2 chicken coops and a duck run. So as you can see here, I had this pallet here to kind of give it the training to grow up there, and then it'll grow along there. Then another spot back here. This is a new spot for me this year, something new. Again, trying to maximize our space. This area here gets really swampy, and you can see it's quite a narrow space between the pasture and the chicken run. So we're trying to figure out what we can do to make this space usable for food and things like that. So we did container gardening over here. These were drums that were given to us free, food grade drums. We cut them in half, filled them up with good organic potting mix and compost, topped it off with mulch, planted our transplants in them, and you can see that they are finally taking off. They were a little slow. Our weather's been really wacky, but I have some gorgeous little cherry heirloom tomatoes here. And my Brussels sprouts are really starting to get some height on them. It's about time to start pruning them, that way the sprouts can actually grow. More tomatoes here. And then I have a volunteer squash. Not sure what it is yet because I didn't plant it here. It's a volunteer. So I'll be excited to see what it is. I have to make sure that I train it to fill the space there and not come over here. And then more basil. This was a complete herb bed here. We had heavy floods and some of my herbs got ruined, but I still have basil and sage, and I think those are marjoram there that did survive, and so they're just gonna stay there and be happy. I have cucumbers in with these beans, and these are bush style baby watermelons here. And then I have a marshmallow plant. This guy, I wasn't sure was gonna make it, but it did. So excited about that. It's got its own little spot. And because this is a marshy area, this plant will do very well here. All right, 2 more spots kinda to make. We have, I believe this is a white boar here. We have a nice sized lawn back here. And what we did was we planted squash and stuff back here that will fill this area up with their vines, but won't actually damage the area. So this area will be covered in squash in a little while. And we have some watermelon there. I'm not sure I'm going to get anything from this right now because it's still quite small for this time of year. But it is what it is. And last but not least, I want to take you over here. This is a volunteer area. Look at this. There's actually 2 plants in here. We believe that one is a pumpkin and one is an acorn squash. I'll see if I can find some for you. I've been thinning this out to keep the air circulation going so we don't get that mildew. But it fills right back in almost as much as I prune it. So, okay, here we go. There's one here. So there's that. And I'll take you over to the other one. And again, this is a lawn, and we're just letting them go because they're not going to bother anything. All right. So there's my squash. Isn't it beautiful? So that's what my garden update is right now. My plants are going strong now, and hopefully within the next month we'll have some bountiful harvest from our later weather crops. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate any likes, comments, subscriptions, shares, whatever you want to do to spread the word about organic gardening and that it can work. All right, everybody, this is Jen from Garden Jen's Journey. Bye-bye now.